Welcome to Democracy Ish. I'm Danielle Moody.
And I'm Wajahat Ali, and I don't have a crown on my head because I'm not a king. I'm just a humble peasant in the United States of America trying to get by drinking my chai. How about you, Danielle?
You know, I too am not a king or a queen, and I'm good.
You're
But
a queen to the rest of us, Danielle.
thank you. So folks, I am very excited because I know that many of you have been commenting and sending notes all weekend long that you participated in No Kings. And you can confidently say that you are one of 7 million. Millions turned out. This is according to BBC. Huge crowds took part in No Kings protests against Donald Trump's policies in cities across the U.S. on Saturday. New York, Washington, D.C., Chicago, Miami, Los Angeles. That's just a few because I loved social media this weekend showing 400 people turning out in like small towns in South Carolina, North Carolina, and places that don't get the mainstream media coverage. There were protests in all of those places. So thousands packed New York City's Times Square for democracy, not monarchy. Ahead of the demonstration, Trump allies accused protesters of being linked, as they were doing all week, leading to this far left anti fascist movement, which you're correct. We are anti fascist. And Mike Johnson called it the I Hate America rally. And so CNN, look, I will tell you this, the New York Times, wildly disappointing wash, had
Hmm.
like zero messaging on the front page of the New York Times following the protests, but it did make it through CNN. So CNN was covering, MSNBC did wall-to-wall coverage. This is according to CNN. Why they protested. Demonstrators voiced outrage at a range of Trump's policies. Some key themes took center stage, including perceived threats to democracy, ICE raids, troop deployments, and the government. What are we going into week 4 of the government shutdown? Yeah, week 4 of the government shutdown is where we find ourselves. So, folks, here are some pictures. These were incredible. It was incredible to see the images, to see the clips, to get messages from friends who had attended and seen their protest signs. So, what did you make of it, Waj?
Yeah, I mean, we have right there, that's New York City, that's Boston, I think that's Minneapolis. There's that amazing sign that was in California. 7 million people for the first No Kings rally. It was 5 million. And like Danielle said, even then, the New York Times had it below the fold. Even now, I think below the fold. I don't even think it had on the fold today,
Yep.
which is wild. This is a single largest day of protest in U.S. history, and the New York Times is like, meh, who needs this? Let's talk about both sides. Let's talk about economic anxiety. The fact that all these people came out across 50 states. I was traveling. I was flying from Houston to DC. But when I landed, all these people were like, man, it was awesome. Not a single major violent incident, no attacks on cops, a lot of joy, no Confederate flags, no Nazi flags, no I love Hitler's, no 1488 white supremacist slogans, no smearing the shit in the US Capitol. I think the only person who was briefly detained, what I've seen so far, is a person in a penis costume. That's it. Other than that, no major violence, number one, or arrests in all these cities, with 7 million people
Yep.
coming out across all 50 states, different ethnicities, genders, age groups. Pretty awesome. Pretty
I
awesome.
will say this. One of my friends and colleagues that attended said that it was absolutely moving to listen. She was in New York to listen to all of these different languages being spoken, seeing all of these different ethnicities, and just the shared love of America and of democracy. The conversations that people were having with each other, just to be in community and connection with live people who feel the same way that you do, who are outraged, who are disgusted, but who wanted to show up and show out. The NYPD posted on social media that there were over 100,000 people protesting in New York City, not a single arrest. And that is extraordinary. It's extraordinary. And some of the signs, this 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 sign, friends, my favorite.
I found this for Danielle. I knew
Yeah,
she would love it.
I mean, gorgeous. Was absolutely brilliant. And then this one, the Grand Tifas, grandpops and grandmoms against fascism. Loved it so much. Awesome. Here is an image of JB Pritzker. I mean,
That's a dope photo.
Out in Chicago, absolutely incredible photo of him. And I want to play a snippet of Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, who is now the first elected official that I have seen, and maybe it's just I'm saying what I have seen, that is calling for a general strike. And I want you to take a listen.
Ancestors, as slaves, can lead the greatest general strike in the history of this country, taking it to the ultra-rich and big corporations. We can do the same today. I'm calling on black people, white people, brown people, Asian people, immigrants, gay people from around this country to stand up against tyranny and to send a clear message to the ultra-rich and big corporations. We are going to make them pay their fair share in taxes to fund our schools, to fund jobs, to fund healthcare, to fund transportation. Democracy will live on because of this generation. Are you ready to take it to the courts and to the streets?
Basically are, right? When we're seeing...
I mean, I posted a video that my friend Dr. Christina Greer and I did on Substack ahead of No Kings, where we were saying October 18th is incredibly important, but what are you doing on the 19th, the 20th, the days, weeks, and months to follow? That video is up now on my YouTube, where we give thoughts, instructions, ideas of what people can be doing. Mass protests are important because they show numbers. They show how connected we all are on the message of wanting to fight for our democracy. But what we do after and continue to do is most important, because this regime is not going to be defeated one organized protest at a time. I have been calling for a national strike. I've been calling for a national boycott, because I think that is what comes next, and what needs to come next is shutting this country down in order to overturn this regime. So take a look at that video that is up now. Waj, final thoughts on this before we contrast it to what we've seen on January 6th.
Well, you've been saying it for a while, and we have been saying that the only color that trumps the color white in this country is the color green. And last month, we saw an example. Disney bent the knee. Sinclair bent the knee. Nexstar bent the knee. And Brendan Carr, FCC chair, came out like a henchman and essentially threatened ABC and the local affiliates that if they don't take out Jimmy Kimmel, we could do this the easy way, we could do it the hard way.
Right.
And then what happened? That day, ABC bent the knee, Sinclair bent the knee, and Nexstar bent the knee because they want the merger. Well, people responded. How did they respond? Not just with outrage, but by canceling Disney Plus. I've got kids, and I canceled Disney Plus. Apparently, they said 1.7 million people canceled Disney Plus, and it was so bad that the Disney shareholders have demanded an audit into the decision-making process of who and why did they decide to cancel Jimmy Kimmel. So it lasted for a while. Jimmy Kimmel went back on air. Then Sinclair and Nexstar, people forget this. Sinclair and Nexstar, because they're complete, especially Sinclair folks, total Trump reeks, MAGA to the core. They said, well, we don't care. We're going to go ahead and not have Kimmel on, even if ABC brings him on. That lasted a total of 3 days because the boycott then extended to them. And they're like, okay, fine. All right, fine. So now Jimmy Kimmel's back on air. So this country worships money more than anything. And what MAGA is, in addition to a march towards white supremacy, it's a grift. It's a major grift by Trump and his billionaire friends to gobble up all of our milkshake. They love money. They love money and they love whiteness. So our job with the numbers is, well, we have money. We have less money because 1% of the population in America now has much wealth as the middle class, not making that up. But we still got a lot of money and we spend. And guess what, Danielle? Black Friday is coming up. Black Friday, the religion of capitalism, has its biggest day. Its
I know
annual
that's right.
pilgrimage.
That was great. Religion of capitalism. Yep.
It's
Good.
his biggest day. Muslims have Hajj. Capitalism has Black Friday and Christmas. There's going to be a lot of sales. I'm telling y'all, we need some organizing in the next week. I was talking to Ezra Levin of Indivisible. He's the co-founder and co-director of the march. We were talking yesterday. He was exhausted. And he said, maybe we should do a strike. I'm like, you need to organize a strike. And he has a follow-up call, folks. Indivisible has a follow-up call of what to do next on Tuesday, tomorrow. So they're like, just go to nokings.org for follow-up steps. But I said yesterday, I was talking to Ezra, and he's just like, yeah, did you know ICE and these other major tech companies are doing ICE is using major tech companies like Spotify and doing ads. I had no idea. So then while we were talking, I Googled it, and ICE is running ads on Spotify and other major tech companies. I just while I was talking to him, Danielle, yesterday, I just blue skied it. I'm like, I shared the article. I said, ICE is running ads on Spotify. F Spotify, terrible company. Let's boycott it. And then God, the avatar known as God, amplified it. And so that's been on Blue Sky. All these people are like, what? Spotify's running ICE? And I get it. There's all these other companies are doing it, but I say you pick one. You make an example out of one. So if you're listening right now, folks, and you're on Spotify, terrible company run by a terrible person that's proudly and openly running ICE ads, cancel your Spotify subscription. I'm telling you, all think, it's not going to matter. That's what they said about Disney and Sinclair. And look, Kimmel is back on the air.
Yeah,
That's my
take. And it's interesting because the other day I was watching regular network television, and there was an ICE ad that came across, I think it was ABC, that I was watching, that was join ICE, all of these things. It's recruitment, right? They have all of this money. This is where they canceled student loan debt, right? They're giving you a $60,000, $100,000 cash bonus to sell out your fellow countrymen. So they create the despair, they create the economic downturn, they create the desperation, and then give you the one pathway out, which requires you to sell out your soul and to sell out your neighbors. And that's it. That's what they're doing.
Before we do compare and contrast, because so compare and contrast, Danielle, can you just show one positive photo of those protests of 7 million people again?
Yeah. Here you go.
Okay. 7 million people came out. No arrests, people in frog costumes, Grand Tifas, a lot of joy. Single largest day of protest in U.S. history. No people got beat up. No cops got beat up. No smearing of the shit in Capitol Hill. We're going to do a compare and contrast. But before we do a compare and contrast to how MAGA is, and we should compare and contrast, we are different from them. We do not worship Donald Trump. We do not follow white nationalism. We are not secessionists. We do not praise the Confederate flag. I want you to see this photo. Can we go to one more? Let's see. Let's go to this. Look at this.
Yeah. Yep.
Look at this. Beautiful. Beautiful, right? Today, flanked by the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, super Christian, who has kept the House closed, shut down, nothing on the docket because he refuses to swear in Adelita Grijalva, who will give the House the 218th vote to release the Epstein files. Instead of releasing the Epstein files, they're going to keep the House shut down. Well, Chip Roy, hardcore MAGA Trumper from Texas, flanked by Mac Johnson today, said the following. The truth is the Marxist radicals and Islamists the Democratic Party promoted this weekend, they cannot handle the truth. The truth is that there is a king, and that king is Jesus. And the president has been willing to say it, and Charlie Kirk was willing to say it, and he got killed for it. That's an exact quote from earlier today.
Oh, okay. Sure. That's one way to look at any of the things that have happened. Here's another way to look at it. So here is some imaging from January 6th when Donald Trump said that he couldn't call in the National Guard because he didn't know how, or it wasn't his job to do so. This is
Or it was
what
Pelosi's job.
this is what it looked like on January 6th. And this is what Chip Roy, Mike Johnson, JD Vance, and others wanted to happen on Saturday. Except what we know is that we're not them. We're not violent. We're not discussing. We're not unpatriotic. But this is who these people are. This is the flag that they were waving on January 6th, the flag that never, before January 6, 2021, never made it into the Capitol building, not even during the Civil War. This is who they believe we are, right? And so, again, these are Trump's people, right? Like, I remember seeing this when it was said that Donald Trump was wearing a diaper and this, that, and the other thing. And then these are what these cultish maniacs do. And they have the audacity to say, oh, wearing a frog costume is cringe and all of these things. I wish that I had the picture. Do you remember? Because first off, now we know, thanks to Time magazine, by the way, that Donald Trump was not shot in the ear. Okay. There was no shooting that involved Donald Trump. Let me just say that again. How do you know that? Oh, because the ear cartilage, when harmed, that scar stays, right? It stays. The shot that the people chose at Time magazine for the cover, that wonderful photo, thank you for the passive aggressiveness, Time magazine, showed Donald Trump's ear fully in place. No scratch, no scar, no nothing. But you remember those idiots wearing their giant gauzes wrapped around their ears to show
At the
their solidarity.
RNC.
To show their solidarity with Donald Trump. So
and
this
folks,
is who these people are.
And folks, the bullet, what we always assumed was most likely hit the teleprompter, and there was a small shred of glass that nicked Donald Trump's ear. And I want you all to remember, because we keep the receipts, that we still don't know what actually happened to Donald Trump because they have refused to release the medical records to this day. The former and future president of the United States survived an assassination attempt at the age of 78, and we still don't know, was there trauma? What was the amount of damage done physically, internally? We still don't know. And this mother effer, he wore a diaper, a giant gauze bandage on the RNC, because he survived, right? His ear survived. And then these freaks, like Danielle said, wore a diaper on their ears for their king. And then the next day, diaper was removed. Ear was perfectly fine. If, God forbid, a bullet hits the ear, especially at that range with that bullet,
glass, anything,
the chunk of the ear is gone. It's gone. So this is who they are. And they've been mocking us as violent. They've been mocking us as Caroline Leavitt, Bimbo Barbie, White House press secretary last week, literally said that all of us participating in this anti-fascist rally, No Kings rally, are Hamas terrorists, violent terrorists, illegal aliens. That's what she said. Then you just heard what Chip Roy said earlier today. Then you've heard them trying to mock us by saying we're cringe because some people are showing on frog costumes. This is MAGA on January 6th. This is who they are. And that guy, folks, that little circle of the photo, look at the bottom right, E.J. Antononi. I want you all to remember, because people forget there's a lot. Last month, the jobs report came out. This month, the jobs report came out. The job numbers were terrible. So instead of admitting that his stupid trade war is failing, Donald Trump fired Dr. McAnterfer, the highly qualified head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, because how dare she do her job and release the actual job data that the world depends on, and she replaced him temporarily with that guy, E.J. Antononi, a guy who was at the January 6th insurrection, a guy who's completely unqualified, and because it's springtime for Hitler, who among us doesn't have a Zoom background featuring Adolf Hitler's favorite Navy ship? That was E.J. Antononi's Zoom background. These are the people in the Trump administration These are the people who show up for their king and their daddy, Danielle.
And you know what? I want to make mention of this because people brought it up in the chat that a man was killed at the alleged shooting of Donald Trump, right? There was no reporting following the release of that man's name and Donald Trump using his firefighter uniform as some type of prop on the stage at the RNC.
Oh, yeah, I remember that
folks,
prop.
I just want you to remember that following this historic incident that happened to Donald Trump, there's been no reporting, no medical reports released, nothing on the shooter whatsoever, no investigation whatsoever. And that
can I just
leads
say
you
the
to
reason
believe,
for that?
just saying, should have a lot of questions.
The reason for that is the shooter, Thomas. I'm reading the receipts on Democracy. The shooter was Thomas Matthew Crooks, a white man, gun enthusiast from a Trump Republican family. And notice that when it's a white man, it's radicalized online, not a it's gone. You don't even know his name, folks. You don't even know his name. And that was a man who tried to kill Trump, failed, ended up killing a bystander. Secondly, the other man who tried to kill Trump in Florida last month, who was convicted. Remember, he stabbed himself in the neck when he was sentenced. Another white man, former Trumper, you don't know his name, David DePape, a Trump supporter. Another white man who tried to kill Paul Pelosi. And what did Donald Trump do while wearing a diaper on his ear after surviving this assassination attempt and talking to the people at the RNC? He made the hammer motion, mocking Paul Pelosi, who almost got killed by David DePape. This is who they are.
Oh, but that's not only who Donald Trump is. I'm not playing this video, but would you like to tell them, Waj, what Donald Trump did following
yesterday, after it was reported that No Kings was the single largest day of protest march in U.S. history with 7 million people coming out, Donald Trump, through his White House page, or probably it was some troll, some Nazi lover, because that's who they are right now, using his Twitter handle, decides to post another AI video, because that's what they do now.
Because that's what they do now, apparently. Like, yeah, just post
they don't worry
AI
about
videos.
Bringing down grocery prices, bringing down the price of beef. They don't worry about helping our allies, ending the war in Ukraine. They don't worry about helping soy farmers. This is what they do. So if you haven't seen the video, don't waste your time. It's Donald Trump as like Top Gun Maverick in the cockpit of a plane, wearing a crown, and then he in that jet literally flies over the marches and dumps mud, sewage, or poop. It looks like sewage, poop, on the protesters, and then they show a photo of the poop hitting the protesters in the face, and that's how they responded to 7 million Americans coming out. This is their king. This is their wannabe Jesus. This is Donald Trump. This is white trash MAGA.
I mean, I refuse to play the video because I saw it and like it was sent to me twice. And then I watched it and I was just like, and you want to tell me no one wants to invoke the 25th Amendment? Everyone thinks that this behavior is completely and totally normal. And then on top of which, folks, because that's not the only thing that Donald Trump was doing during the No Kings rally, right? Because he decided to put on some type of show of force and do a military demo over I-5 in California. Thankfully, Governor Gavin Newsom decided to shut a portion of the highway down for fear of people getting injured. And I thought to myself first, when Gavin was saying he was going to shut down the highway, I said, do you need to shut down the highway? It's, this whole attempt BS is going to happen like high above, blah, blah, blah. Folks, look at what was dropped from this display. Live munitions from a Trump van's military demo flew over, struck a CHP vehicle. The White House wanted the highway open, right? But Gavin Newsom shut it down for safety. that decision likely prevented injuries or worse. Because here's the thing. My assumption, these live munitions come down, right? CHP is
California Highway Patrol.
thank you. California Highway Patrol. What if people were driving?
There you go.
Comes down, hits your windshield, you stop short. You can just imagine a pileup, car accidents, deaths, unnecessary, also that Donald Trump could put on a show. And again, New York Times had posted that a patrol car was hit by the shrapnel. All of MAGA comes out and says that it's fake news. Until when? Until multiple media outlets come out, including Fox, that says patrol cars hit by shrapnel during Marine Corps live fire demo at celebration attended by JD Vance.
Folks, and also, there's a small piece of news that we tried to remind people on the Left Hook and also Democracy-ish, is that JD Vance openly said that they're going to do these exercises off the coast of California and fire missiles. You all remember that? I was talking to Miles Taylor about that, Miles and Olivia, and we kept mentioning it even last time that during the time of the No Kings protest, that's when they decided to do this as a show of force and as a show of intimidation. And so Gavin Newsom was wisely shut it down because he doesn't trust JD Vance or Pete Hegseth. And they're like, maybe the president who just routinely shares images and videos of violence, of literally shitting on his American people. I mean, Donald Trump, even a white trash clock can be right twice a day, even though if it's broken and cankled. He's been pretty honest. I think he's so addled right now that he was very honest when asked about going to heaven. He goes, I don't think I'm going to make it, because I think he just remembered partying and with Epstein and allegedly raping girls. And then again, yeah, I'm like, that was on point. I wasn't really that offended. I'm like, yep, that's honest. He's literally shitting on his fellow Americans, and he thinks he's the king. And he has a cult. It's like that Burger King crown when we were young. We used to go to Burger King and get the crown.
Yep.
And we used to pretend that we were kings, right? But it was just pretend. This is real life where his cult says, yes, you are king. You are getting to heaven. The finest silk you're wearing. He's like,
getting into heaven. They think he's Jesus. So
yeah, they think he's like mini Jesus, cankled Jesus. And they think Charlie Kirk is like the second coming. Listen to Chip Roy earlier today. I'm not making this up. So I really appreciate that AI video because I was like, that's on the nose. And that's an admission of truth from a man who routinely lies that, yes, he is shitting on the American people. And I don't think they realize, Danielle. I was thinking about this. This is what happens when you're a cult, when you're in an incestuous group, when you do groupthink, when you don't go outside the bubble, and especially when that group then gets power. You get drunk, you get lazy, you get arrogant. These people think everyone is a racist. Everyone is an edgelord. Everyone loves these filthy, nasty 4chan type of humor that people just love these white nationalist talking points. And I don't think they realize until this week, oh, wait, we're the baddies. We're freaks. The normies look at us like we're a bunch of friggin' weirdos, right? I want to remind you all, it was just last week where Politico gathered 2,900 pages of Telegram messages. Go ahead, Danielle.
I was just going to say, and go ahead, because to remind folks of what happened with the drop of all of these text messages, the disgusting things that they said, and what has now happened to those people, Waj?
Well, a few of them have slowly resigned, but what also happened is a majority of the Republicans said, don't apologize. Why are you apologizing?
Yeah.
JD Vance came out and didn't even condemn it.
He called them kids. He called them kids.
Yeah,
they
kids,
are 30
boys.
and 30 and 40-year-old white men that he said, I don't care what kids post, as if they were teenagers. Because again, the perpetual post-adolescence of white people that last well into their 80s.
Infantilizing white men and their terrible behavior. Look, folks, real quick. Donald Trump, locker room talk. Donald Trump when he was in the 70s. Oh, he's learning how to become president. He's maturing. He's a grown-ass man. What the F? The infantilizing of white men, the coddling of white rage and white violence. What makes, I don't know, a white man a man and not a boy? And compare that to how they treat black men and black boys. Look what they did to Trayvon Martin. Look what they did to Mike Brown. Look what they did to
Tamir Rice.
the boy
with
the gun. the fake
Yeah.
gun.
Tamir Rice.
Tamir Rice, right? The officer called Mike Brown Hulk Hogan, Trayvon Martin. Oh, he shouldn't have worn that hoodie, and he was violent. Look what they do to George Floyd. Look how they demonize black and brown bodies, even in death. And look how they infantilize white men who
Come
rape,
on.
who praise Hitler, who lead a violent insurrection. They're just boys. I just want to give that example because it's happening in real time. And look now, that demonization, folks, that was so common against black and brown bodies, against undocumented immigrants, against pro-Palestinian activists, against black people, against Muslims just in the past year. What me and Danielle kept warning y'all was they're going to do this against white folks. And those Grantifas now who came out, according to this administration, y'all are Hamas terrorists just like me. You all are violent insurrectionists just like me. You all are extremists just like me. Fascists come for everyone.
So, speaking of which, right? So, all of this is happening. And I want to remind folks that last week and for the last couple of weeks, Donald Trump, as a way to distract from the Epstein files, to distract from the growing rage inside of this country, has been doing what? Bombing boats in the Caribbean Sea, right? So over the weekend, President Gustavo Petro of Colombia accused the U.S. of killing an innocent fisherman in a boat attack.
Yep.
Trump said he would now slash aid in response to the fact that the Colombian government is saying, oh, by the way, you've killed innocent people.
You killed one of ours, a Colombian citizen. You killed one of ours.
Not to mention, there were also 2 Trinidadian fishermen who were also killed, right? Fishermen. And they're telling you they're bombing boats, they're bombing submarines, they're getting ready to, they've already given the CIA and the FBI the ability to begin like covert operations, which, by the way, I thought that covert meant undercover. So why is it in the New York Times? I have no idea.
Because he admitted it.
But this is what is happening. And grateful for this poster, Maine Wonk, who said, did you know regime change in Venezuela was covered up in Project 2025? And now you know. So it goes on inside of this. And Waj, I don't know if you want to take a piece of it to read it, but basically why they want regime change and how they are going for regime change. It was all written out in Project 2025.
Check out the first paragraph where they're talking about Chavez and Maduro and the communist regimes. Yep. But again, the religion in this country is capitalism. The country has violently cracked down on the pro-democracy citizens and organizations, shattered its once oil-rich economy, empowered domestic criminal cartels, and helped fuel a hemispheric refugee crisis. There you go. That's the ballgame. The resources, and then also the xenophobia. Olivia Troy and Miles Taylor, who were in the Trump administration, national security officials who left, both told me independently, Stephen Miller in the first Trump administration had conversations with him where he told them about his dream to bomb Mexico. He wants to bomb these Latin American countries because he's a white nationalist, and he believes that that way will send a message to them and they won't send their brown people. But then you also have the oligarchy, and you have Donald Trump and all these corporations who want a pro-America friendly government that will give them what? The nice oil and resources,
Yep.
right? And that's why also you see, which I think is kind of interesting, the woman who won the Nobel Peace Prize. Watch that space. Been praising Donald Trump, praising Israel, praising the strikes, right? Because I think she realizes, hey, help me get in power, help me get rid of Maduro, and I'll play ball. Just look at that space real quick. But you're seeing, we've been on this for a while now. I said, listen, what's happening in Venezuela? What's happening to these fishermen? Because so far, folks, there's no evidence. There is no evidence whatsoever that has been released by the Trump administration that any of these individuals were drug smugglers. It's not me saying that. It's Rand Paul yesterday on Kristen Welker's show, who's against the president unilaterally killing, let's be honest, murdering these individuals whose family members say they weren't drug smugglers, they were fishermen, right? They've provided no evidence. And then over the weekend, the fifth strike, actually for the first time off the coast of the Caribbean, had some survivors. What did this country do? What did this regime do? What did the Trump administration do? They didn't arrest them. They didn't try them. You know what they did? They quickly repatriated them to their country of origin. I wonder why.
I wonder why.
I wonder if you're a drug smuggler, if you're a part of this terrorist organization, don't you want to make a big deal out of it? Don't you want to bring them back? Don't you want to try them? Don't you want to say, this is what we do? Due process. No. So most likely, folks, the Trump administration for the past month has been seeing, can I get away with unilaterally, extrajudicially labeling someone a drug smuggler or a terrorist and then killing them? And will this country let me get away with it? And the answer is yes. Now, the reason why I want to spend a little bit of time on this, 2 weeks ago, Pam Bondi, his attorney general, openly said, we are going to do to anti-fascists and these left-wing terrorists what America has done to these Venezuelan drug cartels. Danielle, what did they do to these drug cartels?
Well, murdered them without due process. Because again, they're telling us that they're members of drug cartels. And we're saying, how do you know that? How do you know what groups these people are a part of? Because you're one, flying up above them and dropping bombs on boats. What evidence do you have? Because again, this is what I continue to say. If you had the evidence, there is nobody who would come out and say, don't take proactive moves, don't make proactive moves in order to keep the country safe and what have you. No. So if you had, right, the trust me bro mentality, if you had the information, if you had the evidence that tells us that you are following these drug traffickers, then you would release that evidence. But this administration that is full of sociopaths and liars tells us to just trust what it is that they're saying. You've given us, over the last 10 years, no reason to trust anybody inside of Trump's circle. As a matter of fact, I think it's pretty easy to say, whatever they say, believe and do the opposite, and then you won't be a war criminal.
Amen. And I do believe that's a really good point that you made and Joanna made. Accountability, folks. Accountability. You need Democrats. I've said this before. I'll say it again. And I did this Blue Sky post, I think 2 weeks ago, went viral. Any Democrat who truly has realistic ambitions about becoming a major player in the party or a leader needs to run on accountability. I want you all to straight up, whoever's listening, who's a Democrat or wants to run as a Democrat, you better promise me accountability. You better promise me that Stephen Mother effing Miller is going to be tried for war crimes. Kristi Noem's going to be tried. I want court cases against Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth. I want investigations. I want an investigation into Signalgate. I want to know what they knew, when they knew it. What did they lie to the American public about? There needs to be accountability because there was no accountability for Donald Trump under Merrick useless Garland. There was no accountability for a violent insurrection. There was no accountability for stealing classified documents and putting in the shitter in Mar-a-Lago. There was no accountability for literally picking up the phone. And we have the red tape, the audio recording of Donald Trump demanding Brad Raffensperger, the Republican Georgia Secretary of State, find him the exact votes, Danielle, to make him win Georgia. And without any accountability, these criminals are going to keep criming. It's like the Hamburglar who goes and steals all the burgers from McDonald's and just waves at the cops and says, "I'm going to come back at 3 p.m. You're going to be
and
here?
I'll pay you. Don't worry."
They're like, "Yeah, give me a donut." And so we need that's right. You know it. This is a loyal viewer. Accountability and reformation, not coddling and restoration.
But look, I want to pull this up too because this is absolutely true, Philip. Thank you so much. Bush 2, W, is to blame for this. He didn't want to be tried for war crimes because of the bogus WMDs, weapons of mass destruction. I tell you that all of this, when we look at history,
that's right.
All of this comes from one, not trying Nixon, 2, not trying George H.W. Bush and COINTELPRO, then not trying George H.W. Bush and Dick Cheney for war crimes in Iraq, and so on and so forth. When you don't hold people accountable, whether they be the president, vice president, etc., for the crimes that they do, they just get worse with each generation. So imagine, folks, what comes after Donald Trump. If Donald Trump, right, can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, he's been, right, designated as a king, he's given total and complete immunity from the Supreme Court, he has all of these pocket pardons. What comes after Donald Trump? Just imagine how much worse they will be.
And also Jorge Santos III, the first man on the moon, the founder of the British Empire, got pardoned over the weekend. And they're doing it openly. And Donald Trump is saying, well, it's because he's a loyal Republican. That's what happens when there's no accountability, folks. That's what happens when, let's just, stay friends. And then also one thing, Danielle, let's take the DeLorean even back. It goes back to the original sin of white supremacy. It goes back to the Confederacy. It goes back to these secessionist, racist traitors who lost the war. What did this country do? Let's all get along. Coddling a secession, coddling slavers, coddling traitors. And now we have Jefferson Davis and Robert E. Lee memorials and bridges.
Exactly. I was going to say coddling them and then turning them into heroes, right? Worthy of highways named after you, elementary schools, marble statues, all of it. And so here's where we are, right? In terms of the rest of what is happening in foreign affairs. So Trump last week urged Zelensky to accept Russia's terms for ending its war in what is being reported as a volatile White House meeting that happened on Friday, warning Vladimir Putin had said he would destroy Ukraine if Zelensky did not agree to the terms. The meeting between the U.S. and Ukrainian presidents descended many times into a shouting match, with Trump cursing all the time. Why? Because Zelensky ain't going to sign any deal that is going to sell out the Ukrainian people, not with this many years of war under his belt at this point. And 2, we know that whatever screws Putin is putting to Donald Trump is like, we need to end this now for whatever reason. Again, I believe that Putin has a lot on Trump. It's not going to happen. And just so we're clear, Donald Trump was given all of this praise for, quote unquote, ending the war in Gaza, which Waj and I said, God, really hope that this is going to be true, but we have little faith that it is. Waj, would you like
Didn't even last a week. Didn't even last a week. And I want you all to remember that MAGA and all the corporate lackeys and all the sane establishment, the establishment voices who want to sane wash Donald Trump, all said, give him credit. You got to give him credit. And Trump Magazine did that ridiculous, story on him. But thankfully, the photographer did the low angle shot that got the neck vagine. That's the only thing that people remember is his neck vagine. Giving Donald Trump credit, and Donald Trump wanted to rally for the Nobel Prize. And then last week, Mike Johnson, instead of, swearing in Adelita Grijalva and talking about, what the House is going to do, because so far the House is shut down, Mike Johnson said, I'm working with the Israeli Knesset to make sure that Donald Trump gets the Nobel Prize for next year, because that's what the king and daddy wants, because Barack Hussein Obama has one. So, damn it, Donald Trump wants one. So now you're seeing Ukraine and Russia, the war is still raging. You're seeing Donald Trump essentially declare war on Venezuela, authorizing CIA strikes. You're seeing Donald Trump post images of him dumping sewage on Americans. And this vaunted peace deal, this ceasefire, lasted less than a week, and Israel is back to its genocidal ways. I am shocked. Oh my gosh, the leopard eats faces. Who would have thought that the face-eating leopard would eat faces? Someone should have told me, Danielle.
Well, thank God then that the Zionist-run CBS News would then run a story on 60 Minutes yesterday with Jared Kushner and
Witkoff?
Witkoff on the behind the scenes look at these moments leading up to the ceasefire and the hostage deal that lasted less than a week. But thank you so much for this humanizing expose on these heroes inside of Donald Trump's circle. And by the way, their deal was a real estate deal that only works if you know the genocide is complete.
And the Witkoffs also got $2 billion from the Gulf countries, much like Jared Kushner, for those who don't know what's happening. It's all about the money, the oligarchy. And Donald Trump has already said, finish the job. He also released an AI video of him and Netanyahu enjoying their mocktails in the Riviera of the Middle East, folks. What bullshit, what nonsense. We're living in like the real life version of the Emperor Has No Clothes, except that the Emperor is the president of the United States, the most powerful country on earth, has the nuclear codes, and now has the adulation of the entirety of not just the Republican Party, but also the right-wing machinery that controls the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, the White House, and media. That's where we are, folks. That is where we are.
And this is what the White House posts from their official account. This is, yeah.
Can't stop, won't stop. Hey, can you not be racist for a day? Can't stop, won't stop. Just
no.
one day.
And speaking of, can you not be racist for a day? Right Wing Watch. So Christian nationalist podcaster Joshua Hames, because again, it's really important to show you who all of these people are, said on his podcast that Christians must be willing to defend the institution of slavery because the Bible makes it clear. Now, everyone wants to know why I don't participate in organized religion, why I think that Christianity is a farce. This would be the reason. There you go.
Pastor at Pete Hegseth's church. Pete Hegseth, the man who, I think it was 2 months ago, no one asked him about it, positively retweeted the CNN video / expose of Christ Church and its founders, the people who are against the 19th Amendment, the people who believe that women are submissive to their husbands, people who are openly white Christian nationalists. Pete Hegseth retweeted that video with the favorable content. I think what do you say? All Christ for all of life was his retweet. This guy, Joshua Hames, was an ex-pastor at that church. Pete Hegseth has these tattoos that are now identified with white nationalists. Pete Hegseth wrote a book called American Crusade. Pete Hegseth is, by his own admission in that book, more extreme than America's military. That Pete Hegseth is our Secretary of Defense, also an alleged rapist, also an alleged alcoholic. What more do you people need to see, folks? What more do you need to see? Russell Vought, the co-author of Project 2025, who has now been embraced by Donald Trump, just like Project 2025 that he ran away from last year is now embraced by Donald Trump, also a white Christian nationalist. Oh, yeah, and then you had the 2,900 pages of Telegram messages that we already forgot about, in which the young Republican leaders in their late 20s and 30s said stuff like, I love Hitler, because who among us hasn't joked in their 30s about loving Hitler?
just gonna not us. And then speaking of terrorizing,
tell them about this
people,
story, Danielle.
So this, I mean, honestly, this is a story that is absolutely insane. So Homeland Security has posted a video of this young Black man saying that he has threats of murdering law enforcement, that they are tracking him, that they are going to, make this violence stop and all of these things. They've pulled these videos down, right? And they are literally trying to get this young man killed. And it has gone viral all around. So the young man, has responded to this post. I'm going to play the video and then Waj, you please chime in.
Getting these mad messages from my DMs and social media and on my comments. and I randomly get a text message talking about a recent video that was posted in my account. I was like, what are y'all talking about? By the way, I'm sick, so if I sound weird, yeah. I get threats daily on IG and everywhere all over my social media all of a sudden due to an old video I posted months ago about Iran. That was not to be a threat. It was literally a joke, bro. Like, seriously, it's just content. Anyways, once I seen that video that was posted in my account, then I was like, what the fuck? Well, didn't I post this like months ago? Then I seen the caption, and then I was like, wait, I didn't do that. I still got the video saved on my draft from months ago on TikTok, bro. I'm gonna pull it up right here. Here's the fucked up part. The federal government is involved with something that I didn't do. Like, what? So this is what they reposted off my TikTok. That video got taken down. So here's what they reposted on their page. Now that video is going crazy as hell on Twitter, bro. Now I'm a threat to the government for something that I didn't do, bro. Now I'm being called a wannabe YN, a wannabe gangster over a video that I didn't caption or I didn't post. So thanks for my followers for letting me know about this, because seriously, this is getting out of hand. Like, literally, this is going crazy, viral all over social media right now. Probably might end up being on the news, bro. So my apologies for that contradiction and rumors from happening. I know my First Amendment, but I did not post that video. So to clear that up, I did not post that video, and I apologize for all the rumors that is going around right now on social media about this conflict. And those other kids that was on the video, bro, they volunteered to want to be on the video, bro. I asked them if they wanted to be on the video, and then they said, yeah, they agreed with it.
And then after this, what did DHS do? Yesterday, folks, after this, after literally everyone called them out, after there's community notes, after their people literally said, hey, look at this kid's date. This is from months ago, actually in 2022. Actually, that's what I heard. It was 2022, but he said it was a couple of months ago. So let's just go with what he said. They doubled down because they take the Roy Cohn, Donald Trump strategy. You never, ever, ever admit you're wrong. You always do what? Always fight back harder. And he's a boy. He is actually a kid. He's actually a young man,
right?
Not in his 30s,
not in his 30s or 40s.
But he's black, so that means he's 45 and should get the death penalty for posting something he didn't post and for threatening ICE, even though he didn't. And according to this government, if you threaten ICE, that's an indicator of left-wing terrorism. Even though this kid was just doing, viral videos, and he did that several months ago about Iran, and he does a whole bunch of jokes like this, and it's clear to anyone who spends 37 seconds researching it, and he's just a kid. And also, pro move. He's smart. He did his whole apology with classical music. That was actually well done.
Well done.
He should sue. He should totally sue, and he will get money. But there are death threats against his boy.
Right. That's the point here. So as we wrap up today, because,
and I'm saying boy because he is a young boy.
He's a child.
He's a kid. He's a child. And so who's a boy? Is it the 35-year-old, 37-year-old who says I love Hitler, or is it this? He looks like a teenager. He looks like a teenager, right?
Yeah. So as we wrap up today, because what does all of this come back to, Waj? All of this distraction, all of this heinous escalation from racist tweets that are coming out from the White House, from DHS, from Trump's AI videos, literally shitting on Americans. What does it all come back to? Epstein.
Epstein, been saying it since the summer. It's all about Epstein. Folks, I know I sound like a broken record. I'll say it real quick before giving it to Danielle. This is Donald Trump's Achilles cankle. It's all in one. First of all, he cannot escape it. We have been witnessing a cover-up since April because the Wall Street Journal reported that Pam Bondi told Donald Trump in April/May that he's in the Epstein files, which means since the summer, he has been lying to us. All of this is a cover-up. Number two, federal judge has said the DOJ can release the Epstein files. They have chosen not to. Mike Johnson, for 3 weeks, has refused to swear in Adelita Grijalva. Finally, mainstream media is picking it up. Finally, ABC News and even Jake Tapper decided to confront him and said, you could do this in pro forma. Why aren't you doing it? The reason why they aren't doing it because she has already said she will give the House the 218th vote to release the Epstein files. The House, specifically House Democrats, already have a tranche of documents. That's why you're going to see a little bit more leak, drip, 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 drip. Virginia Giuffre, folks, for those who don't know, 16-year-old spa attendant whose dad worked at Mar-a-Lago. She was working as a spa attendant. She was reading a book on how to become a masseuse. Ghislaine Maxwell was there visiting Mar-a-Lago, sees this young girl reading the book and says, hey, if that's the career you're interested in, let me introduce you to Jeffrey Epstein. He'll help you. She goes, that's awesome. She groomed Virginia Giuffre, brought her over, and Virginia Giuffre said for the next 2 years, she was passed around like a platter of fruit, trafficked to the most powerful men. She's the one who named Prince Andrew. Apparently, she also named Ehud Barak, the Israeli prime minister that we've mentioned on the show several times. Remember I said Ehud Barak keeps showing up in New York at the penthouses? I wonder why. Well, let's see. Allegedly, she named him as well. Prince Andrew, as of a couple of days ago, right when an excerpt of this book was released, this book is coming out tomorrow. Boom. Finally, this should have happened years ago, but apparently Queen Elizabeth had a soft spot for her pedo son. He was stripped of his titles. The New York Times just did a huge piece on Leon Black. Oh, you know, the billionaire private equity investor of Apollo Management Group who just gave millions of dollars to Jeffrey Epstein. Nobody knows why, for advice, even though Epstein's a college dropout. Yeah, that Leon Black is still alive. Wexner, the former CEO of Victoria's Secret, Leslie Wexner, another billionaire who just gave Jeffrey Epstein $70 million townhouse, as one does, Danielle, he's still alive. Donald Trump is still alive. And so, folks, accountability, making Donald Trump weak, something that unites Americans. Over 80% of Americans want the Epstein files released. Virginia Giuffre's book's coming out tomorrow. And I think her book is going to cause a lot of waves. Danielle.
I mean, I'm just saying, look, this right here, again, to your point, should have happened years ago. Years ago, it should have happened. But the fact that it's happening now, that Prince Andrew is now being stripped of his title, that he issued a terse statement on Friday confirming he would stop using his title, the Duke of York. It seemed like a definitive bid to draw a line under a scandal that has haunted the British royal family for a decade. Yet in some ways, it was just another step in the long march of shame. With each new sordid detail or explosive accusation about his ties to the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, the royal family has chipped away at Andrew's gilded veneer. He was banished from public life in 2019 and stripped of his honorary military titles and the honorific His Royal Highness in 2022. Losing the Duke of York title is a particularly bitter blow, royal watchers say, because it dates to the 14th century and is traditionally bestowed on the second sons of monarchs. It also has been Andrew's primary calling card in the restless life he has pursued since his glamorous youth as a war hero and eligible bachelor. Now 65 and living in isolation in a stately house on the Windsor estate west of London, Andrew remains a prince. That status stems from being the offspring of Queen Elizabeth. So what does that say? The royal can be taken down because of these accusations that have been going on for a decade. It tells you that they are true. And that it is only, again, I'm going to say, a matter of time.
Yep.
Before every other brick falls.
Drip,
Final thoughts
drip,
to you, Waj.
drip. I'm telling you, Epstein files, you get accountability, you get justice for the girls who were raped, and you weaken Donald Trump and MAGA. MAGA cannot defend Donald Trump against Epstein. That's the one thing. We've been waiting for 10 years. What's the bottom? This is it. Raping girls is even MAGA's like, I can't, it's too much. And even then, most of MAGA, some MAGA's like, it's okay. But most of MAGA, the followers, like, no. They've radicalized their own base. They promised the release of the files. Once they got in, by they I mean Pam Bondi, Cash Patel, and Dan Bongino, they looked at the files and realized their king and their daddy was all up in it and most likely raped girls with Epstein. That's probably what he did, folks, because they partied together, were closest friends. Everyone knew what was happening. This is going to come out. And once this comes out, it's not just going to be Donald Trump. It's going to be all the enablers and the entirety of the GOP that falls. Folks, this has been another episode of Democracy-ish. We will be back hopefully Wednesday. Thank you all for watching. We keep everything for free because we're terrible capitalists, but we want people to be informed. You're also seeing this on the Left Hook and Damn Digest. That's our Substacks. Everything is free there as well. Please become a subscriber. If you can, please join Danielle Moody's community on YouTube. Become a subscriber. It's all free. We're trying to get her to 40,000 subscribers. For those who joined us late, we have about 1,600 people watching on YouTube and Twitter, about 1,400 people watching on my Substack, several hundred people watching on Danielle's Substack. This will be up later today if you all missed anything. And Danielle, you host like 37 shows. When are you up next?
I will be back today, 5 p.m. Eastern, for the Danielle Moody Show. So please do tune in. And Waj, when will you be up? In about
right
2
now
minutes?
With Lev Parnas and Zev Shalev. Lev apparently has some scoops, so he's going to share with us.
Oh, I'm going to tune in. So everybody else go tune in. Thank you to all of our super stickers and super thanks. You guys are amazing. This is independent media. Every dollar that you contribute allows us to be able to continue to give you the type of news with integrity and passion that we do on a regular basis. Thank you so much for your donations and just showing up and showing out. We will see you Wednesday on Substack for our midweek check-in, and then back here on Friday for Democracy-ish. Be well.
Hi, bye everyone. See you in a second. And please don't be
a fascist.